All right. Hello and welcome back to the Saturday session of Community Healers. We have these sessions every weekend at 4 o'clock. We try not to miss any, though we did miss one a little while ago. That was my own. I wasn't well. Sorry about that. And we'll be so what we do during these sessions is introduce participants in the audience to different types of alternate healing modalities, alternate wellness modalities. And आज हम इनको alternate कहते हैं, लेकिन let's say before the rise of pharma, which is about 150 years ago, these were the regular ones. So it's very interesting though how they've come down in status to alternate. So I am Sid Kular. I am a holistic wellness coach. I work with issues of weight, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and type 2 diabetes, which are the metabolic side. And I also work with emotional wellness issues such as procrastination and anger issues and things like that. And with me today we have Sahil. Now, Sahil is a holistic bodywork practitioner, and he's been doing work as a visual artist. He was working for 5 years. When you were working for 5 years, Sahil, did you have the nose ring that time in the corporate sector?
Not at all.
I'm sure corporate tends to homogenize all of us. Right. So he's done a BCom, and so now he's actually been doing a lot of exploration. When he and I spoke for the first time, I remember listening to his journey for about 5-7 minutes, and he's 5-7 minutes by the clock is a long time. So he's been all over the place. He's been through Sikkim and Odisha, and he's been through he you might actually call him a modern day shaman as well. I don't know how many of you have heard of shaman, but it's a whole lot more than dancing around the fire. That trivialized image most of us have been led to believe. There's a whole lot more to it. There's a whole lot more metaphysical elements to it. But today, Sahil is here in the context of something called Qigong, or pronounced Qigong. And the only thing I'm going to say here is that Qigong is another word for prana, I think. But I'm going to allow Sahil to tell us. And so the structure of the session, guys, today is about we'll be talking for a few minutes, Sahil and I. And then after that, Sahil will take us through a series of exercises designed, from what I understand, Sahil, please correct me where I go wrong. So designed to let's say reflow our chi, something like that, Sahil.
Yes,
Why don't we hand over to you? So uh, introduce yourself, please. Tell us something about yourself.
sure. Okay. So thanks, Sid, for for this platform and for the wonderful work that I'm very connected to community healers and all the different things that are showcased across the platform. So it's really nice to be a part of it and to be able to bring this to you as well. Thank you for everyone for showing up. It's probably not, I mean, it's Saturday, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which is actually a great time to actually do energy work. So it also worked out quite perfectly. In a nutshell, like Sid said, I'm essentially a shamanic practitioner. So I studied the Peruvian and Hawaiian forms of shamanism, and I have stayed and spent time with indigenous communities in Sikkim and Odisha to learn and exchange practices with them. And about 3.5 or 4 years ago, along with my shamanic practice, I also came across the Taoist practice of Qigong. So Qi, like Sid said, is essentially translates into prana or energy or life force. And Gong translates into skill. So Qigong is essentially the work or the skill that we gather to cultivate Qi or to cultivate energy. And that really is the essence of the work that we're going to be doing today as well. And before we go into, the history of Qigong and, where it comes from and all of the wonderful things that we're going to cover today, I actually just want to quote, I want to read out a quote by one of the people that I really am inspired by, and that's Lao Tzu. And he's written, an extensive book on Taoism called Tao Te Ching. And, if I can just take a minute to read that out to all of you. Empty yourself of everything. Let the mind become still. Empty yourself of everything. Let the mind become still. The 10,000 things rise and fall, while the self watches their return. The 10,000 things rise and fall while the self watches their return. They grow and they flourish, and then they return to source. They grow and they flourish and they return to source. Returning to source is stillness, which is the way of Tao, which is the way of nature.
I'm not much of a poetry guy, but that was nice.
So essentially, this is really the essence of Qigong. What we're doing here is combining our body, our breath, our mind, and spirit together, and harmonizing this connection between our body, breath, mind, and spirit to be able to return back to source, or what is called as Tao, what is called as Brahman, or what is called as spirit or consciousness. Now, Qigong was an ancient practice, a Taoist practice that has been popularized in Western China. However, it also owes its origins to an ancient art form that came from India called Vajramushti. And Vajramushti essentially translates into iron fist. And I don't know if some of you would have heard, but there's this very popular branch of Kung Fu called Iron Fist Kung Fu and Iron Shirt Kung Fu. And it is said that it owes its origins actually to Vajramushti. And what really was Vajramushti? Or what really was this martial art form? This was essentially, historically and traditionally, it was a warrior's art, but it was essentially building our internal energy, building our internal reservoir of energy in such a way where we can harmonize this connection between body, mind, and spirit, and also be able to learn how to store and preserve our energy. Now, in the context that this was practiced, there was a lot of emphasis on physical movement. There was a lot of emphasis on, like say, fighting or wrestling or, even in the context of wars. And what was realized is that they were losing a lot of their energy in this process of physical movement. They didn't know or didn't have the tools or the resources to really learn how to conserve and store this energy within their body. And that is where the practice of observation really came in, where these Taoist practitioners started looking at the different points, the different places, the different sources where energy is originating from, where this prana is originating from, where this chi is originating from, and learning how to harness it, learning how to cultivate it, learning how to preserve it. And this is Qigong essentially, and this form of Qigong has taken many roots. It's a practice and it's an art form that's dated back almost 5,000 years. And today, the way that it is practiced is essentially just using movement and postures combined with our breath in order to be able to achieve that space of control and stillness. And in that space of stillness is where we find our connection to source, is where we find our connection to the Tao or to the flow. And throughout the session, I'm going to take you through a lot of these movements and a lot of these postures, and I'm going to constantly bring you back to this element of water, because water is an extremely important element in the practice of Qigong. And why water is an extremely important element is because water denotes fluidity, water denotes flow. And this element of flow and this element of fluidity, this element of relaxation is what we really want to bring into our lives. And that is where the practice of Qigong really flourishes and blossoms. Now, it is also important to understand that Qi or energy is both its energy and matter. It also is the force that transforms energy into matter and matter into energy. And water is a perfect example for this, because water is also ice, it is also vapor, it can also be vapor, it can also be ice. And all these three states of water, ice, and vapor is Qi or is energy. And Qi or energy is also that force which transmutes water into ice, into vapor. So essentially, we're working with these three different states inside of us. And this chi or this energy can be felt in the form of heat, it can be felt in the form of cold, it can be felt in the form of tingling or throbbing or pulsating sensations. And anytime we experience that, that is really energy flowing through our body. And just by bringing our awareness to that natural flow in our body, just that natural state of flow that exists in our body, we are connecting to source, we are connecting to flow, we are connecting to Tao. And what happens when we don't connect? And what happens when we try to, I mean, I don't know if this is true for any of you, but this is definitely true for me that, in so many ways, there is almost an imposition that I am trying to make upon life. I am trying to make my mark upon life. I am trying to impose my way on life. In certain ways, I'm also trying to impose myself on the emotions that I experience on a daily basis. Emotions are manifesting as sensations in my body. And every time I'm telling them a story and a narrative, basically saying that, okay, you know what, this emotion is good, this emotion is bad. Right? But by doing that, I am restricting the flow, the natural flow of that energy. I'm restricting the natural flow of those emotions. I'm restricting the natural flow of life. So Qigong essentially is that practice of cultivating the third space, that third space that exists within us, which is not the mind, which is not the body, which is not the breath, and yet is all three. And that's what we're essentially going to look at today. And we're going to cover some of those elements today. So if there aren't any questions or any clarifications, I think, we can move right into it.
I have a question.
Yes.
Now, when we talk about energy flow and all of that, now,
Yeah.
I've studied certain energy healing practices.
Right.
So when we talk about flow of such things, कि ऐसे हिलने डुलने से या इस तरह के movements करने से we can reflow the chi and so on and so forth. I've seen this in various places and all that. So that is happening, fine. लेकिन जब वो हम नहीं करते हैं, how can we visualize how chi exists in an unharnessed state? Do you know what I'm trying to say? I mean, जब आप कहते हो कि ये करते हो, then like you can see a flow, something happening from here and there, and यहाँ से निकल रहा है, fingertips, ये वो, you can see that. But what's it otherwise? It's like masses or balls or spots? Is it making any sense?
Yes, no, it absolutely does.
So how does it
And it's an interesting question because there have been so many, like, so energy or chi has also been described as, as bioelectric current. It is also defined as magnetic fields. All of these things are essentially ways to describe what chi or energy is, because it is the unmanifest, because it is intangible, right? It is an invisible force that is pervading inside of us and around us, and yet we cannot see it. Right? And a lot of the energy healing practices also that we do is essentially a way to feel and to experience this energy that is flowing through us. Right? And it is, in a sense, it cannot be seen, but it is known. That there is this energy and there is this chi that is flowing through us. Now, I'll speak in the context of emotions. There are certain ways in which we can very tangibly feel this flow of energy, right? Now, when we're experiencing a particular emotion, like say, for example, anger. Now, anger has a very specific quality to it, right? Anger is ascending energy. You see that anytime you're feeling anger, the energy of anger is such that it rises up, right? And I'm saying that this varies from individual to individual. But the energy of anger is such that it rises up, it ascends, right? You suddenly feel hot, right? And like extreme manifestations of that anger is like, maybe boils or warts or different other sort of manifestations of it, right? But that is what the flow of anger is. That is what the nature of anger is. Now, bringing our awareness, what do I mean when I say that we want to come back to a state of flow? Is that when I'm feeling that ascending nature of anger rise up in my body, if I try to suppress it in that moment, or if I try to hold it, or if I say, no, 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 I am going to keep this right now because I'm working, or because I'm talking to somebody, or because I'm doing something else, I am restricting that flow of energy. I'm restricting that flow of anger. But what we really want to do is to be able to bring that awareness that, okay, as this energy of anger is rising up inside of me, I am becoming aware of what form this anger really is. Right now, I can feel that there's a certain kind of heaviness in my chest. Maybe there's a little bit of heat around the area of my lungs, and just bringing ourselves into that space of observation, into observing. And once we bring ourselves into that state, that is when that is when we're not doing anything to that flow. We're just letting that take its natural course and pass. And that is really what the nature of energy also is. You cannot control energy. You cannot control chi. You cannot hold it because it's like sand. The more you try to hold it, the more it's going to escape from your hand. So we cannot control energy in that sense, but we can learn how to harness it. We can build a relationship with that energy and with that chi such that we understand it in a way where we're then able to harness it and cultivate it for our well-being and for our harmony. And that's what we're doing in the practice of Qigong. Yes, Richa.
Thanks, Sahil. Richa, please. Sorry.
So you were giving example of how energy flows changes when we are in anger. I
Right.
want to know what kind of changes we may say in the flow of energy when we are in some kind of dilemma.
Hmm. So Richa can, yeah. So
I was suggesting that when you're in a dilemma, the energy starts from this point and then goes somewhere like this and comes and stops somewhere here in the shape of a question mark, something. Sorry.
yeah. But Richa, it's an interesting question. And I don't know if I have, a direct answer for it because dilemma is also, it's general, right? One would really have to inquire into the nature of the dilemma. One would have to see where the dilemma is coming from, what is the source of that dilemma, and all of those things. But I'm saying without getting into that, if I would just look at dilemma, right? The first thing that comes to my mind is binding, right? It's binding.
With no end, I can say.
Absolutely, with no end. So it's just binding and it's just keeping you there. Now, what happens when you feel that binding force in your body? What's happening really?
Sir, I get bit even more and more confused. Like just I said, I was like I do used to find that maybe the start or maybe the end of that loop you were describing. But
Yeah,
until so that goes on with binding mind. But I want to have that, start or maybe end point of it.
yeah. And what if I were to suggest, right, that the way to transform or transmute that binding is to not be a part of that binding in the first place, which means that you don't have to discover the start point or the end point of that binding.
Then how would I will reach that decision, sir?
You will
How will I be that reach that decision? Whatever decision I have to take,
by
if I'm not
cultivating a third space,
okay.
by cultivating another space inside of you.
Could I interject for a moment?
Sure. Yeah.
What Sahil is saying makes a lot of sense in a slightly different way as well, because if you consider, he says that you should be apart from it. That's what you said, no, Sahil?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, now if you just think about this, Richa, if you think about this, that when you have a certain situation, life situation, any situation, and imagine it to be a like a maze. कि मेज है ना, बेसिकली इट्स लाइक अ मेज जिसमें से हमको अपना रास्ता बाहर निकालना है. अब आप जब मेज के अंदर होते हैं तो आपके तो यहाँ तक दीवारें लगी हुई हैं, ऊपर तो आप ऊपर तो देख ही नहीं सकते. So you have to work your way out, and it's very difficult because you are in it. Sahil says stay out of it. When you stay out of it, imagine you're high above it and you can see yourself in the maze from upper, so you can also see the way out. Na?
Yeah.
क्योंकि अगर bird's eye view से देखेंगे, you stay away from it, you can actually manipulate it, use it, explore it much better than if you were out of the picture than if you were inside the picture. Making any sense?
Absolutely.
Back to you.
And just using that analogy further, Sid, of the maze, right? We can also, in a certain way, and I'm saying this at the risk of this becoming really abstract, but we can also engage with the maze in a way where the maze is not in control of us, but we are engaging with the maze.
Suppose I throw it back to you that we give the maze control.
Yes. Yes. We are giving the maze control. And when we cultivate that third space, or when we cultivate that other space, right? We are then also, because there is a certain amount of space that has been created inside of us, where the maze is not really a maze, but it's imagine the maze to be a puzzle, and that maze that is then now a puzzle is something that you can work your way around, because you're not engaged with the maze in the way that you were earlier. So then you can harness that maze, you can harness that puzzle, and you can find those pieces that you were not able to earlier. And that is essentially, in a nutshell, the essence of this kind of energy work, or this practice of energy work. And it has several aspects of it. So there are, what we're going to be covering today is going to be medical Qigong, which is again an extremely ancient practice, um, basically for healing. This practice of medical Qigong is for self-healing, and it is also for being able to transmute and transmit energy to people who don't have enough. So this is in a way also a form of distant healing. We're going to be covering aspects of spiritual Qigong, which is essentially, in the introduction, I already spoke a little bit about that, and some aspects of martial Qigong. So martial Qigong is essentially, I don't know if you've heard of these, masters who have like superhuman abilities. They're able to like lift rocks with one finger, or they're able to do all of these, really amazing things. But essentially, the practice that they have been dedicated to is the practice of martial Qigong, which is building the internal energy in such a way, right, where that is what the driving force for everything is. So they have built so much energy in their tendons, in their muscles, in their ligaments, that they're not actually making any kind of physical movement. The same physical movement that I will make to, possibly do this, they might just do this and still have 10 times more force, than I. So also, this is the way that we can also harness and cultivate that energy deep within us. And that reservoir, or that potential, that latent potential, is available and accessible to all of us, irrespective of age, irrespective of where we are physically or mentally or emotionally. This is available to us. It's accessible. It is just how we approach it, and how dedicated and committed we are to experiencing this potential within us.
Just one thing, Renu had something to say before she got tired of having her hand up.
Yeah. I hope she wasn't actually putting
No,
her
no,
hand
no.
up.
She was using the other one. Renu, आप कुछ कह रही थी?
I think that I'll wait for the session to over. Maybe after he's done, I'll ask my question.
ठीक है जी, as long as you can remember it.
I would. Thank you.
So back to you, Sahil. Thank you.
Okay. So shall we start? Yeah, can we do this? Okay. A small request to whoever is comfortable, and whoever doesn't have trouble, to keep their videos on. It'll be nice just to connect with everyone if their videos are on.
Guys, videos on. Videos. Come on, you can do it. Okay, that's Kiran. I recognize the background. She hasn't changed her background for how many months now, Kiran? आप mute पर हैं.
Okay, I am going to just hide. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I think that's all we're getting.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, back to you.
I've kept only video participants, so I can see everybody who is on my screen. Yeah, everybody who has their video on. So this is great. Okay. Wow, we have 32 people. Okay, I hope people at some point also put their video on. All right, so we're going to start by just keeping our spine straight wherever you are. If you're resting on a chair, that's okay. Jayanti, if you're driving, please don't do any of these practices. Yeah, that would be my sincere request. Okay, you can just be with us then. Yeah. Okay. All right. Great. Yeah. Okay. So just keeping your spine straight wherever it is that you are sitting on a chair. You can also rest your back on the chair if that's more comfortable. We're going to keep our feet on the ground. Okay. Yeah. Now, we're not going to enter into any meditative states here. Okay, so we're going to close our eyes, but we're going to be extremely connected to the space that we're building here, to my voice, to just this energy that we're creating together. Okay, yeah. So no other space we are entering into. Okay, yeah. So just keeping our feet on the ground. And we're going to start with something called as pulling down the heavens. Okay. Now, what we're going to do here is we're just going to take our palms facing downward first. Okay. As they come up to the shoulder level, we're going to turn them upward. Bring them all the way up to the top of the head and bring them down. Okay. Now we're going to combine this with our breathing. So we're going to take our arms up as we inhale, take a deep breath in. And as we exhale, we're going to make the sound shoo. Shoo. We're going to do this 6 times. Shoo. 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 Okay. Now, this practice of pulling down the heavens is essentially a practice to release any kind of excess heat from the body. So if there's any fatigue or exhaustion that you're feeling at any time of the day, if you spend too much time on the screen, or if you had a really lively conversation and you feel drained or depleted, just doing pulling down the heavens will bring back more energy, more life force into you. This is also a way to balance your upper, middle, and lower centers. So Qigong essentially recognizes 3 Dantians, which is the upper Dantian located in the center of our forehead, the middle Dantian, which is located around the region of the solar plexus, and the lower Dantian, which is referred to as an elixir of life and is located around the region of the lower abdomen. Okay. Now, when we do this practice, we're also bringing in slightly hotter energy, right? A little more heat towards the lower, cooler centers. Now, what this does is that this balances our body temperature and it regulates it. So it acts as a sort of a thermostat. Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to just do some standing movements and postures. So I'm going to invite you to make space for yourself. Yeah. Am I visible? Am I audible? Can you give me a thumbs up? Yes? Okay, great. If at any time I'm not visible or audible, just give me a shout. Okay? All right. Now we're going to keep our feet shoulder width apart. Yeah. So we're going to keep our feet shoulder width apart. Our knees are unlocked. They're just unlocked. So you're not bending your knees, but you're just unlocking them. Your tailbone and your coccyx or your buttocks are tucked in. This posture relaxes the tailbone and it also just brings a lot of ease into the spine. So if you can stand like this any time of the day, whenever you're standing, you will see that this will actually bring a lot more ease into your spine. Your shoulders and your arms are relaxed. Okay. Now we're going to do a movement called as knocking on the doors of life. The doors of life are essentially our kidneys because they create, preserve, and they destroy chi or energy. So they're also referred to as the Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesha. Okay. The movement for this is essentially taking our arms and just swinging them side to side. The movement is coming from the waist. The upper part of your body is completely relaxed. And you're making loose fists. Just loose fists, just tapping those kidney meridians or pathways. Meridians are nothing but nadis or pathways through which energy flows throughout the body. Now going up to the lungs. The lungs are the commanders of chi. They're the organs through which chi enters our body and flows through it. So we're just waking up those lungs. Very nice. Now going down to your kidneys once again. And slowing down. Slowing down. And coming back to the center. Okay, now we're going to do something called as a chi massage. A chi massage is essentially again just waking and activating all of those energy points in the body. Okay, so how we're going to do this is you're going to make loose fists once again, and you're going to start by just tapping your kidneys. You're just tapping your kidneys, just waking up those kidney pathways. Now we're going to go down the outside of our thighs. These are the yang meridians. Going down. Coming up the inside of the thighs, the yin meridians. Tapping the lower abdomen. Just with your loose fists. Now going up to your chest, to your sternum. Now taking your left arm out and going down from the inside of your arms. Coming back up the outside. Once again, tapping the chest, taking your right arm out, going down the inside and coming back up from the outside. Tapping your shoulders, once again the sternum, going down to the lower abdomen, coming up once again, tapping your neck, your scalp, your cranium, the tip of your cranium. Just let your knuckles just activate those points. There are some amazing acupressure points at the top of our cranium, the top of our skull. Just really activating those points. Coming down once again to the chest, down to the kidneys, and coming back. Yeah, how are we doing? Yeah, feeling good. Okay, great. All right. Are we good to move on? Can we move ahead? Yes? Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to stand in this posture. Okay, this posture is called Wuji. Wuji translates into nothingness or the void. Okay. Now there are schools that are dedicated, there are in China that are just dedicated to this posture. So this is an extremely powerful posture. Okay. And if you bring and cultivate this as a daily practice, you're going to see how beneficial it can be to your spine. The spine is the house of all of our internal organs. So a healthy spine is a healthy body, healthy mind, and healthy spirit. Okay. Now from here, what we're going to do is we're going to do something called as a wave. Okay. Now the wave is, I'm going to show you a side profile first. We're just going to bend forward and come up. So it's like an S movement. that my body is making. Okay, now I'm going to break down this movement a little bit. All right, so we're here standing in Guji. We're going to bend down as our hips go back. So you're not bending down from the top of your spine. This movement is not okay. Okay, your spine is straight. You're just extending your hip back. Spine straight, you go down. And as you're coming up, you just tuck your chin in. Tuck your chin in, bring your hips forward and come up. Okay? Now we're going to do this with our breathing. So we're going to inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Now I always like to visualize a wave, that's just lifting me up from the bottom. I bend down and I just allow myself to be lifted up by this wave. And now we're going to take our arms, just keeping our arms really loose. And now we're going to change our breathing. So you inhale as you come up and exhale as you go down. And with the last exhalation, taking the right arm up and then taking the left arm up. Right arm comes in this wave sort of movement. So you inhale as your right arm comes up and exhale as your left arm comes up. So it's like you're pulling, from this fountain, from the source of fountain that's around the region of your lower abdomen, just pulling out this source. And let this be the source of vital energy or life force or prana. And just with each breath, you're tapping into this internal reservoir of abundant energy. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Now just taking both your palms and placing them in front of your lower abdomen, as if you're holding a ball. And just letting this ball pulsate a little bit. And feeling the sensation inside of your palms, in between your palms. And now we're just going to exhale as we take our arms away from each other. And inhale as we bring them together. Exhale. And inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And feel your chest rising and expanding with each movement. Filling the energy up more in the chest and in your higher centers. Just taking this energy from the lower centers and bringing it up. Exhale as you expand and inhale as you contract. Now just being here, holding this ball. Just keeping your connection to this ball of chi, energy. And now we're going to do a movement to gather and harness the energy from the earth. So even though this movement is to gather and harness energy from the earth, we're going to make the intention to gather it from the earth, the sky, the planets, the stars, the leaves, the plants, the animals. Everything around us carries this energy, this life force. So we're just going to take our arms and just make this gathering movement. We start from the left as we gather and harness this energy. And come to the center. And come to the right. And taking long, deep breaths. Once again, just moving your own rhythm. Being as slow, maintaining this connection with this ball. To be as slow and as gentle as you can, as fluid as you can. Remember your connection to the element of water, this element of flow. And let your body and your mind just relax into this movement, into this space of fluidity and of deep connection. And see if you can be a little more slow, a little slower. Holding this intention for yourself. And coming back. Once again, holding this ball. Holding this ball of chi, of life force in between your palms. And just taking one palm over the other and placing it on your lower abdomen. Now from here, we're going to do a movement called as a stork spreads its feathers. This is a great movement for your internal organs, for your digestive organs, for your spleen, your pancreas, also your kidneys. At the same time, it also expands and elongates your rib cage and also improves your breathing capacity. So what this movement is going to be like, we're going to take one arm all the way up, palms facing upward. The other palm is going to go down, facing downward. So the energy from the heavens is being transmitted through this palm upward. And the energy from the earth you're absorbing through this palm that's facing downward. Now we're going to inhale as we bring our right palm up and our left palm down. And exhale as the other arm goes up. So the right arm now goes up and the left arm comes down. Once again, inhale and exhale as the other palm. Now the left palm is up. And know that you don't even really have to stretch your palms. Just bringing your attention to the center of your palms. Just bringing your attention there is also going to help you cultivate and harness this energy, this chi. You don't really need to apply any force, any extension, any uncomfortable, movement or posture. Just as comfortable as you are right now. Inhale and exhale. 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 Now coming back, we're going to do something called as Buddha holds up the earth. So we're going to draw this energy from the earth and bring it up towards the center of our spine. Bring it all the way up the top of the head and spread it across our sides. So you inhale as you bring in this energy from the earth, this grounding, stabilizing energy from the earth, all the way up towards all three of your centers and spread it across your sides. With each movement that we're making, we're bringing this energy of stability, of centeredness. Of connection with the earth. With each breath, feel your connection more intimately with the earth. Inhale as you draw this energy gently towards the center of your spine. And exhale as you bring it to your sides. Inhale once again. And exhale. One last time, inhale. And exhale. Now keeping our eyes closed. Just keeping our eyes closed, we are now going to just enter into an intuitive exploration of discovering our flow. So my question and my invitation to you is, what is your inner flow? And how can you bring this inner flow to any one aspect of your life? What is your inner flow? And how can you bring this flow to any one aspect of your life? And we're going to use any one or a combination of the movements that we've done today by ourselves to arrive.
Sahil, I can't hear you.
Can everybody else hear me? Yeah, okay. Kiran, maybe just check your audio levels.
So we just have to do deep breathing. I can't hear your voice anymore.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
A little bit.
Sir,
Okay.
you're clear and audible, sir.
Kiran, your voice is clear. Yeah.
Okay.
Why?
All right.
Sorry, not Kiran. Sahil's voice is clear for the rest of us. It might be your network, perhaps.
Okay. So we're going to use any one or a combination of the movements that we've done today to arrive or not at this answer. So you're going to use these movements in whatever form that you remember them and that you want to. And you're going to flow with this question. I'm going to invite you to flow with this question. What is my inner flow? And how can I take this flow to any one aspect of my life? And use these movements to discover that for yourself. So I'm not going to be guiding you, I'm not going to be instructing you. You're going to just explore this by yourself. So whenever you're ready, you can begin. And we can start together in Wuji. And just remember to be as slow and as gentle as you can with each movement or with the movement. Because it is in this moment of gentleness and slowness that you will discover the flow that resides within you. Keep your eyes closed, or worrying about what I or anyone else is doing, if anyone is watching. But just taking this opportunity to connect with your inner flow. And if you feel like moving and expanding those movements, allow yourself, give yourself that permission. You don't have to stick to the movements just the way that we did them today. Let those movements become just a starting point, a beginning point. And feeling your connection to this pool of energy that is all pervading, all encompassing. And just dipping your feet and your hands into this pool of energy. And finding that flow for yourself. What is my inner flow? And how can I take this flow to any one aspect of my life? And don't limit yourself to the space that you're standing in. If you feel like moving, allow yourself to move freely. And if you arrived at your answer, I'm going to invite you to just bring both your palms together. Just storing and preserving your inner flow. Letting it pulsate and throb between the container that is your two palms. Our palms contain the secrets of the universe. And they're a container for everything that we carry. And I'm just taking one palm over the other. And just placing it on our lower abdomen. And we're going to come back and just sit on a chair. Almost finished. The end is practice with small healing sound for the lungs. So the Taoists believe that each organ carries specific emotion. So here, by doing the lung sound, we are transforming the emotion of grief and of sadness into joy and vitality. So we're going to do this by keeping our feet connected to the ground, spine straight. We're going to take our arms and just place them in front of our face. So like the laughing Buddha. I'm sure you would have seen the image of this somewhere. Yeah. Now we're going to inhale. As we inhale, we're going to visualize white light entering our lungs. So we're going to inhale white light. And we exhale, making the sound as if you're saying snake. And you take your palms down. Once again, bringing them up. Inhaling white light. And bringing them down. Once again, inhaling white light. Once again, bringing arms up, inhaling white light. Once again, inhaling white light. And bringing them down. Just taking our palms and just placing them on the lungs. Just pressing the lungs gently. And thanking your lungs for breathing life into you. For containing and for transporting this life force throughout your body. Just thanking your lungs in this moment. Thanking them for all that. And just taking your right arm and placing it on your left armpit. And your left arm around your shoulder. And just holding yourself in this embrace. And thanking your body for being the vessel and the container for all that it has carried. The gift of life, the gift of pain, of hurt, of discomfort, of comfort, of ease, of dis-ease, of housing your spirit, housing your soul. Just thanking your body in this moment. thanking it for making you feel alive. And if it's comfortable for you, I'm going to just invite you to say these words out loud. And these words are, I am alive. And just say them as softly or as loudly as you want to. By just hearing the power that lies and rests in your own voice. I am alive. I am alive. I am alive. And feeling that sensation of those words in your body. And feeling the voice of your soul as you say these words out loud. Taking both your palms, rubbing them. Placing them over your eyes, your forehead, your face, your neck, around your neck. And slowly blinking and opening your eyes. Hello, welcome back. Okay. Yeah. Just
So, not trying to be flippant, but some of the stuff he was doing was very reminiscent of what one might find in kung fu movies. So, seriously, so that leads one to believe that some of the moves that they show in those, especially the fantastical kung fu movies. I'm not talking about the Jackie Chan ones. I'm talking about the old masters wale jo hote the.
yeah.
So does that mean that the kung fu as such, I have no idea about it, but that there is a lot of like use of flow of chi and all of that in kung fu?
Yes. In Kung Fu, well, I'm also not an expert in that region. But from what I understand, Kung Fu is an external martial art. It does focus on the flow of energy or the flow of chi, but it is more to really build external power. Kung Fu is actually taught in combination with Taoist practices, and Taoist practices are rooted in internal energy work. So say it doesn't matter if you are a martial artist or if you don't know Kung Fu, but you can be a Taoist practitioner, because a Taoist practitioner essentially focuses on building internal energy. And if you combine that with Kung Fu, then it becomes, just an internal as well as an external martial art.
अच्छा, और एक और क्वेश्चन, sorry, बहुत सारे overactive थोड़ा सा. When you do those hand movements and all of that, is there any kind of accompanying visualization? Because I mean, for example, when that one which uses both hands typically ends up with the yin yang sort of visualization. So do you think of those in your mind while you're doing that, and visualizing the flow and so on and so forth? Is there something one would feel in the hands also or something? Because I found that while your movements were very deliberate, and who is one person here? I can't Bhavna. I think Bhavna seemed to be doing it just as deliberately. She seemed to be feeling or doing something like that, but everyone else seemed to be going with what you were doing, copying what you were doing.
Right.
So, is there some kind of visualization, feeling, deliberateness, perception of the energies involved, or is it just doing the movements?
Yeah. Well, I would actually sort of encourage, I mean, this is just the way that I practice and the way that I teach as well. Is that what happens sometimes is that visualization can actually become a crutch. And that visualization can actually take you away from the perceptual experience of energy, which is really in the now,
Okay.
in the present. It is available to us in the form of sensations, right? However, there are visualizations that support the practice of energy work. So they essentially, visualization is used to really strengthen that flow of energy. Those are deeper practices. They involve, like visualizing for a certain period of time. Like say, for example, we did the visualizing white light in the lungs. The reason why we were visualizing white light in the lungs is essentially to strengthen that organ with white light. So in that way, each organ has a specific color that is attached to it, and you visualize that color. But when we're doing the movements, the reason why I was emphasizing on being slow or being really gentle with those movements is because it is in that process of being gentle and slow that you experience the subtle variations in energy, which could be experienced in the form of tingling or throbbing or pulsating. Right? Those are those subtle variations, and that is what that is the awareness that we really want to build. So sometimes when you're visualizing, you can tend to be more focused on the visualization rather than the changes or the shifts that it is causing at an energetic or at a physiological level.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Guys, please ask questions. Yeah? Aarti, आप कुछ पूछने वाले थे?
Yes.
And so the movements have not to be deliberate, but go with the flow, so that you realize what the flow is rather than follow your movements. We are not supposed to follow your movements, so that we realize what our flow is, right?
Yes, there is a structure to these movements. So the movements, the names that I was giving out for the movements, there is a defined way of doing these movements, right? But it is not rigid. It is not the way that, like, so for example, the way that I do Buddha holds up the earth or pulling down the heavens is actually very different from my teacher. Because my teacher's experience and his practice comes from martial arts. So when he does it, his spine is like, completely like this, and he's just fully protruding out, and he's, his movements are very strong. They're a lot stronger, they're a lot firmer than my movements. So there's really no, I mean, it's just, it's a structure, but that structure is to be played around with in a way. Yeah. And the goal or the focus is to find your own rhythm. It is to find your own flow, right? So within the context of the movements, within the structure of these movements, how can I expand these movements in a way where they facilitate my inner flow? And your inner flow is not like Aarti's inner flow.
Yeah.
In a sense, it is the inner flow.
Yeah. Got it. Okay, one question. Why does my head throw back when I start to do this? I mean, it just goes back, or it goes to the side like this. Even when I do my meditation, my head doesn't sit straight like that. It either goes back or it goes to the side.
Are you tired?
No, I'm not.
Okay. But otherwise, do you feel like fatigue or
Nothing.
exhaustion? No. So there could be two possible explanations for this. One is that there is a sense of fatigue or exhaustion, which is why you're really entering into a space of relaxation, and the body just wants to relax. It just wants to go into that deep state of relaxation, right? Which is great,
Yeah.
which is wonderful. The other reason could also be that you're entering into a state where you're also losing, and I don't mean this in a in a sort of a dangerous way, but you're losing sight of the physical sensation. You're losing sight of the physical body in that way, right? So there is almost that state of just meditation that you could be entering into, which is
So
why.
I'm not the body, somewhere close.
Sorry.
So the state of I'm not the body, I'm somewhere close to the state of I'm not the body. Is that what you're saying?
I would say it's possible, Aarti. Yeah, these are possible explanations as to what, I mean, it's difficult for me to say exactly what you could be experiencing, because there's, it would require a lot deeper conversation with you,
Okay.
as a person.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I think superficially, these could be the possible reasons. Why?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, Sahil.
Hi, Simrat.
Okay. When I was doing the chi massage, I started feeling a little dizzy.
Yes, that's perfectly normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, this reminded me of Karate Kids and Shaolin Soccer. So, like,
Yeah.
I was trying to imitate the movement, but yeah, it will come with the flow. But I just wanted to ask you, like, for lungs, you said there's a white light, like my father-in-law, he's suffering from memory loss. So is there something for brain, which kind of light, like if I want to practice this with him,
Right.
which kind of light, or like how you said white light for lungs. So what is the color of for the brain?
Is he suffering from amnesia?
Dementia.
Dementia. Yeah. Similar, there are acupressure points in the body that you can just do with him. You can just do massages
Okay.
on these acupressure points, which actually will, it's not a substitute for the treatment, or it's not a substitute for any other, treatment that you could be doing. But it essentially also just that massages also builds back those pathways. Just massaging those pathways, it builds back, it recreates those neural pathways and links as well. So it's possible. I mean, I can absolutely share those acupressure points with you, and you can just, it's absolutely safe for you to do it with him.
Okay, that would be really nice.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. There are also different reasons for dementia. And it also means looking at the person's lifestyle, the person's experiences, the person's connection to the body, in its sense. So, also just doing small thing, just using touch in your own way. You're not doing it with the intention to cure. You're just really rebuilding that connection back with the body. So just using touch, very light touch. Sometimes you can use deep touch. Look at the palms a lot, massage the palms a lot, massage the feet a lot. Those contain actually a multitude of, the points across our body. So if you just use light to deep touch, it will soothe him, and it'll also help him in coming back and bringing him into the present. Anyone wants to share about the question? What was it like to discover your inner flow, and how could you take your flow into any one aspect of your life? Was it too short a time? Yeah, Prachi.
Actually, the first thing I want to say is that when I started doing those exercises with you, I wasn't even sure whether I'm doing it right or not, but I did feel the energy between my palms, so that was very surprising. And I was like, I was like just dumbfounded sort of a thing. And then when you actually asked that question, like what is your inner flow, and how are you incorporating it? How can you incorporate it into any one aspect of your life? So I did feel that, the first thing that came into my mind was, I just sensed a sort of circular motion. I don't know if, I'm just saying this to you because you would be able to tell me whether what I felt was, actually anything or not. I just felt something like circular. And then I went back to that whole thing that you did with the taking the energy of the earth and then taking it up and then spreading it all about.
Yeah.
And that is something that I feel that I do a lot with my own family, because I have my parents. I'm an only child, and I have my parents, and I have my in-laws, and it's like I always feel as if I'm actually doing that. I mean, I don't know if I'm making sense to you or not, but somehow I just feel that I'm, there everywhere, in the sense that I'm needed everywhere. So my energies are all like, I mean, I don't know how to explain
I
this, but I
understand.
could just connect.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if this was what you wanted us to do, but that is what I felt. So I thought I'd just share it with you and find out if this is what actually you were asking us to do or not.
Yeah. Um, Prachi, I think this is actually quite a nice realization.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if you resonate with it. But I mean, I cannot tell you whether what you were doing was right. I mean, in the sense that, I mean, I can't give you that answer. But I think what I can sort of maybe sort of like, I guess, deepen your question in a way would be to, um, this energy from the earth is essentially the energy of stability. It's the energy of groundedness, right?
Yeah.
The energy of
Right.
feeling centered. So when I am needed and when my energy is in all directions,
Exactly.
how do I bring myself into a space of being centered? How do I bring myself into that space of stability? And how do I keep my cup full?
Exactly. That is it. I mean, that is what is priormost in my life right now, which I'm aiming for, and that is what I connected with. So I think you've actually just said it in another way, but yeah,
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks for sharing, Prachi.
thank you.
Sahil, hi. This is
Hey.
Poonam here.
Yes.
I love the session. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I have two questions. One, any guidelines or rules around people having any kind of physical ailment or not feeling well? Like I'm down with cough and cold. My energy is really down.
Yeah.
So any kind of guidelines around that?
Yeah.
And two, usually when we do these energy practices, we call on some deities, we invoke the higher beings. So do we call on Mother Gaia or anybody? Is there a specific invoking that we do that would help? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. To answer your first question, Poonam, cough and cold, just do simple breathing exercises. You don't, really stress yourself, because this is a natural purging for you right now. So just experience that purging. And if you just do simple breathing practices also in a sitting upright position, it should be enough. Because anything that you do requires a certain amount of energy, right? And right now, what you need is actually strengthening the chi in your body, or strengthening the energy in your body, because you've lost a little bit of it. But that's fine, because then sometimes the losing of that life force is also necessary for it to come back, right? So that's why the process of purging is actually very, very, you'll find that when you go through that purging process, you actually come back with like more life force or more energy or more vitality, right? And it'll lead to like clarity of mind. You will come up with like insights, so there'll be more connection to spirit, and you'll feel like going into nature and all of those wonderful things. So just my suggestion would be to just allow this process to happen, right? And to just be with it, not try to rush into it. Drink herbal tea, drink green tea, give your body that rest. Eat cooling foods. Don't eat a lot of like warm foods that generate heat in the body. Also listen to your body, how much you want to eat, and if you don't feel like eating, don't eat. I think those small things you can really do. There are deeper energetic practices that one can do in for coughs and colds. But that requires, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to fit this in the scope of this workshop. But yes, there are some energetic practices that you can do in times of cough and cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is an example. Any other conditions? So let's say when we have our monthly periods, at that time, do we do this or not? Like, is there any guideline around?
Yeah. Any contraindications? Basically, not really. You can, like, even when you going through your cycle, you can do these practices.
Okay.
I mean, it's also recommended that, again, when you're going through your cycle, when you're going through periods, then that is also a natural purging that's happening, right? So
Right.
also just allowing that purging to happen. Actually, men have to really cultivate their essence. Women are, women
Okay.
have that gift of actually already being connected in that way. So that would be, there's no contraindication for that. It's just that when you are on your cycle, don't do the healing sounds. Yeah, because if you do the healing sounds, then you're just interrupting again that process of purging. So just allow for that purging to happen. You don't have to do the healing sounds at all.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Your second question about the deities. Yes, I mean, for me, like the practice of Qigong and shamanism is very like interconnected. So, I call in my spirit guides and my spirit helpers sometimes when I'm doing the practices. Sometimes I feel like it enhances the practice. Sometimes, it's just there. So there's no rule against it. But if you're feeling called to, and if you're feeling inspired to, there's no reason why you shouldn't.
All right. All right. So there's no specific instruction or anything there,
No,
All
the goal of Qigong is to bring yourself into the present. It is actually just to not attach yourself to, what the mind is creating and the story that the mind is creating, right? I mean, where I completely resonate with the world of imagination, a great deal. But also the practice of Qigong essentially says, it's like the Tibetan way of saying no mind. Right? Where you're not doing anything at all with your mind. You're just bringing yourself to the present, to the here and to the now. So if calling in your deities actually brings you more presence and it creates more awareness of the moment, of the here and of the now, then by all means do.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Sahil.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, Raina.
Okay, thank you, Sahil, first of all.
Yeah.
I have done Qigong a little bit and along with EFT. So as far as when I am tapping, I was advised that for my backache, it really did wonders when I was doing it. But I realized tapping was fine.
Yeah.
And when it came to, harnessing and doing the hand movements, I kind of got stuck. It was not fluid, my movements. And, I would feel that, the energy is getting stuck somewhere and it was more jerky than fluid.
Yeah.
So why does that happen?
Renu, it's very normal. It's very natural to experience that, right? Because these movements, I mean, are you used to like a lot of physical movement? Do you do like physical exercise? Yeah. So I mean, it's also possible that the reason why this is happening is because there isn't that much physical exercise or motion, right? That's really happening within the body. And the body needs movement, whether it's internal or external, the body needs movement, right? When you move, then you circulate energy. When you circulate energy, then you don't store energy. When you don't store energy, then there's a chance of no illness. It's a very simple formula in that sense, in the context of Qigong or energy work, right? So my suggestion or my invitation to you would be to actually start with some physical movement, some form of physical movement or some exercise that you can do very gently, very slowly by yourself. Qigong, the movements prescribed in Qigong are also, they're challenging in the sense that they're not something that we're used to doing, right? These movements are also new in a certain way, right? We're moving our arms like this and all of that. That's also a little bit new for us. So our body is not used to it, which is why there is a certain amount of jerking that could be happening in that. The jerking can also be, it can also be just a small disconnect in the mind-body connection and in the coordination that comes with that, right? So when there is a little disharmony between the mind and the body, then there is that little disconnect, which can be experienced in the form of a jerk or or anything else. So I guess my suggestion to you would be to start moving, starts with some movement.
It's not like the energy is getting stuck anywhere
The
or
energy is getting stuck. Yes.
it is getting stuck.
Yeah, it is getting stuck. Yeah.
And you suggest that if I start with an exercise or a form of movement, it is going to regulate that flow?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Guys, we'll give it a stop here. Richa, आपके question के बाद we will stop. Any other questions you have, please just post it to the Community Healers group
Yes.
and tag Sahil. Please go on, Richa.
Yeah, I just want to ask one thing. When the tapping exercises started, I was able to tap on almost every part. But when the turn came out of for the tapping into the head, I was not able to tap in it even for once. It was like I can't do that. Can you please guide what maybe happened with me at that time?
What do you mean you were not able to do it?
Like when I started tapping on my head, it was all like stop it. I can't have it. I was able to tap on every part of my body, but severely not on head. Like just not for once even.
Okay. Again, could be many reasons for this. It's. I think everyone's really asking for direct answers. But it's difficult for me to really say, what could be happening in that way. But generally, what I have seen is that when there is a lot of heat that is generated because of tension, right? And when there is tension that is accumulated, tension mostly gets accumulated. Do you think a lot? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you think a lot. And you're mostly like, is it stressful thinking?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And you take care of people. When you're taking care of people, yeah.
Yes.
You're a caregiver. Yeah. Yeah. So I think most of the solutions could really reside there.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Renu's. Yeah. But
Right, guys.
Richa, sorry,
Please continue.
Yeah. My suggestion also, Richa, would be I would actually urge you to do it. What will happen is that it will come to the surface, right? Right now there is a discomfort, which is not bad. It's not a bad thing for the discomfort to come to the surface. So let the discomfort come to the surface. When that discomfort comes to the surface, then there is a chance for it to be dissipated. Then it is a chance for it to be released. And it has to be released because you cannot hold it. It is not your job. It's not your responsibility to hold it.
Okay, we'll try.
I can see 100 more questions with Richa. So you know how to actually do this sort of stuff. It's very, very interesting stuff. I just love the connection of mind, body, spirit, and all of that. It's really interesting how one thing impacts the other. So Sahil, thank you so much. And everyone else, you'll find Sahil's details on, he will shortly join the Community Healers panel, where his details will be present in that panel listing. जो आपको पता है, announcement post में pinned है. If you're not a member of Community Healers yet, please join. And Sahil, I'm assuming he is available for one-to-one sessions, for healing sessions and so on and so forth, for one-to-one coaching. So please do get in touch with him. And any questions, once again, please post to the Community Healers group. Thanks so much, Sahil, for sharing your knowledge and skills with us, man.
Thank you, Sid, for organizing this, for inviting me, and thank you all for coming. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you.
So,
have a nice evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.